He's around.
Yeah, yeah, Krishna.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, he talks about all the time. He actually told me to be fair to me when I thought he was not speaking, so I was like, okay.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I guess.
interesting. Does anyone else have any family, friends, people you know that were in World War II? Cool. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So some of you guys, awesome. You know, and World War II veterans are getting older. Like you say, your grandfather's 93, and so you know that's obviously something to keep in mind as you know, we are World War II veterans are getting seriously older. There was an effort a couple of years ago by I think Madera High School to do something where they documented everybody that they could find within the area that fought in World War II to have to do like an oral history project to just interview the guys while they're still alive. Because the reality is that they're getting up there in age, and certainly we don't want to lose their stories. So if you know a veteran or something, you know, talk to them, learn their stories. It's pretty interesting. Thank you for that. Um, I want to spend a little bit of time on this. The Holocaust. I'm sure many of you are obviously familiar with the Holocaust. It's the killing of 6 million Jews, the killing of homosexuals, the killing of people undesirable, the physically and mentally handicapped in Germany. There also, in the United States, the question we come up a lot against a lot is, did the United States know about the Holocaust? And the answer is, I think yes and no. It's yes in that the United States did know that certain things were happening to the Jews. Okay, did they know about the camps? I think they did. I just don't think they knew about the extent to which the camps were significant killing factories. But America, you know, sometimes people ask, well, couldn't America have done some things to try to just attack these death camps to try to stop them from killing so many Jews? And the prevailing attitude, I'll get to your question in a second. Prevailing attitude by the United States government was they didn't actually want to bomb these camps and to destroy them because they were not significant targets. That's at least what the military said. So I want you guys to understand that. Again, did we know about things happening to Jews in Germany? Yeah. The extent of which, you know, go ahead.
Well, when American soldiers first came upon the concentration camps, they were completely taken aback about how brutal and how disgusting
True.
soldiers were to the people, and not just everybody else was there. They actually documented it. And the reason I feel that they didn't bother or attack it was because they needed proof that it existed and such horrible things could have been done.
That could be true. That's an interesting point. Yes.
Isn't that mostly that reports found that there was a very anti-Semite that was kind of I don't know if you're head of the government or part of government.
Yes, it
He turned
does.
away that the thing was he was also the main reason behind these excuses. He was also well known anti-Jew.
That no, you're exactly right. High level people in the government, some of them were anti-Semitic in nature, feeling that just an inherent prejudice against Jews. As we learned in the video on Monday, Roosevelt did turn away the St. Louis, which was a ship full of Jews, because he didn't want to give special treatment to Jews at the expense of everybody else. And so, yeah, it's easy to look back with our 2015 eyes and go, you know, what were they thinking here, right? But when you have anti-Semitic people in power and all of the other things, it is interesting that happened that way. Oh, you were going to say something.
It could also be because we weren't close by that we wrote the
It
Because
could
I know,
be.
like, personally, I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington DC, and up until that point, did I ever really understood. And it was the most powerful, one of the most powerful things I've ever been in ground zero.
Yeah, and I've been to the Ground Zero, but I haven't been to that one. But I've been to the Museum of Tolerance in LA, and that's pretty serious too. Yeah, I do think America knew to some extent what was going on. I don't think they knew, and like I say, the soldiers, when they came to the death camps, I mean, this is what they found, right? I mean, they found mass graves, they found this, they saw this. Here's a disgusting picture. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but this is the kind of stuff they found. Did they know the extent of this that was going on? Obviously not. Was it broadcasted? No, of course not, because the Germans were very good at keeping all that stuff a secret. Yeah, go ahead, Ed. Thanks.
When I was in Germany a couple of months ago, they actually, they have a Holocaust museum there. And one of them has, they have a whole bunch of collected items from these that were at camps and whatnot, but there's one museum that we went to, and it's a huge room, and it goes back like a couple hundred, like at least 100 feet. And it's filled with these metal plates with eyes and a mouth in it, and you're allowed to walk on it, and you can walk on it, but you have to be completely silent, and it is the most intense experience ever. Like just it's just amazing. Like I was shocked by. I mean, it was supposed to symbolize the violence of the Jews.
Okay.
You had to be quiet, and all you could hear was the metal pieces of the plates on top of each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my goodness. Love to see that. Yes.
The museum in DC has something similar to that, but it's a long bridge.
Long Bridge.
And there's a pit underneath, it's just filled with shoes.
A pit filled with shoes from Holocaust victims.
Yeah, and it's like mind-boggling. Just to see that super shoes.
Oh goodness gracious. Okay.
And you're actually able to walk like through
Through a gas chamber. Wow. The Museum of Tolerance has something similar to that as well. Yes.
Not many people know is, while the Germans were doing this behaviors into the homosexual colonists, the Canada Museum includes training,
True.
science experiments. Japan was doing the same thing.
Yes.
So not many people know that. They always think it was just this.
No, and what you're talking about is a couple different things there, and this is for all of us. It's called the Rape of Nanking. The German or the Japanese did that to the Japanese provincial capital of Nanking in 1937. They raped thousands of women. They killed women and children. The Japanese also had secret science experiments going on. Unit 731 was what it was called in Manchuria, where they would basically do some of the stuff that Nazis were doing to Jews, like basically testing the resistance to heat, to cold, kinds of weird scientific experiments. Yeah, and yeah, that's true. Because and some people don't know this, the Japanese were actually involved in their own way, as Hitler was kind of on this racial crusade to rid the world of Jews. The Japanese saw themselves as higher than the Chinese, who they considered to be their Untermensch, which is like subhumans. So yeah, both nations kind of had this sort of racial ideology going on, which is part of World War II, which is horrible. In terms of us, the Pacific theater, so the European theater is defeating Germany. And I'm only going here because I want to make sure we finish it, but the Pacific theater is basically where we have the war against Japan. And you can see kind of like how the warfare is going to be a little bit different. Now, one thing that's interesting to note is we are going to take out Germany first and devote lots of resources there, but beginning in 1941 and up until seriously starting in 1942, we'll do a simultaneous offensive against the Japanese. And this is known as island hopping. Okay? And that's going to be the only way to go against Japan. The military strategists obviously understood that what we were going to have to do to defeat them is take island after island. And these battles were going to be just horribly nasty. Because the Japanese, of course, were going to fight to the death. They were instructed by their emperor to fight to the death. Even to the point where women and children are seen jumping off of cliffs to their death on Iwo Jima and Okinawa rather than be captured by American troops. Okay, so surrendering to the death. And again, these battles will be absolutely horrific and some of the bloodiest fighting and toughest fighting in the war. Now, very last thing we'll talk about, very last thing we'll talk about, without getting, again, too much into the battle part of it, just understand that that's our strategy, island hopping. When we have, by 1939, I must tell you, by 1939, you guys thought that was cool, huh? There it is. By 1939, it is widely known from specifically scientists that have gotten out of Germany that Germany is trying to develop an atomic bomb. Well, what you have in America is a top secret project called the Manhattan Project, which I'm sure a lot of you know about. And trying to develop an atomic bomb using radioactive materials such as uranium and plutonium and stuff like that. And in New Mexico, they have succeeded in conducting nuclear tests to see if this weapon is actually going to work, should it need to be used. Here's the deal. President Roosevelt dies in 1945, right at the beginning. He's succeeded by a guy named Harry Truman, who was the vice president. Harry Truman has absolutely no clue that they've developed this thing. And by July of 1945, after America has taken all the islands basically and is massing a huge amount of troops ready to invade Japan and bomb the living stuffing out of it, because that's what we're going to do, he becomes aware that we have this technology. Okay? He becomes aware that we have this technology. Now, Harry Truman, I'll show you these things and talk about this in a little bit. Harry Truman is mulling over the possibility of perhaps using these bombs. And I got to go over with you his thought process. Of course, on Tinian Island, which is basically where the B-52s are going to be able to drop the bombs. Of course, the bombs were dropped from the cockpit of the Enola Gay, which is basically the name of the ship that's going to drop. The two bombs are those, Little Boy, and Fat Man. Little Boy is the first one. It's going to be dropped on Hiroshima. Fat Man is going to be the second one that's going to be dropped on Nagasaki. Harry Truman is thinking, okay, I've got this bomb. Should I use it? Because here's what will happen if I do use it, I think. If I use the bomb, I'm going to be able to save American lives. Because again, the Japanese won't surrender. And I'm going to save 1 million men and not prolong this war anymore, okay? Number two, I can show the Soviets, who I don't trust, because frankly, I just had a meeting with Joe Stalin and he's a real son of a gun. I don't like him. And I know they're not going to play fair once this war is over. Because they're communists. And do communists play fair? No. I want to show him what's up. I want to show him that we have this bomb. doesn't drop the bomb, imagine the consequences. If he doesn't drop the bomb, what would have happened? Would America have sent in more and more troops and more losses of life? Ultimately, the prevailing viewpoint is that President Truman dropped the bomb. I'll show you a picture of the bomb here. On Hiroshima to shorten the war and to save American lives. That's what the gold standard is for what your book is going to say. That's the accepted view. There are some historians out there that don't buy it. There's some people that think Harry Truman didn't mean to drop the bomb. In fact, what they could have done is two things. They could have taken the bomb out 20, 30 miles outside of Tokyo within range, and they could have dropped it, and they could have said, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't surrender. They could have, there's people that think that. There's also people that think Harry Truman didn't have to drop the bomb because the Japanese were probably maneuvering politically inside their government to surrender anyway. So there's, and all it would have taken was another 3 weeks. So there's different viewpoints on the issue. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to think. Just understand what the prevailing viewpoint is. Okay. All right, that's a lot for today. We're going to stop there. We'll see you on Monday. Check out that book. Where was it at?